Alrighty, what is good? It is May 3rd. I'm going to do another trade recap and kind of go over my thought process of that trade that I had posted on Twitter this morning. I think it was about 10.27R or something like that. My ultimate terminus was hit, and that was for about, I think it was about a 14R. I think it will say right here, actually. 13.5. So getting into it this morning, right? So I actually got on the charts a little bit late. I did not even get on till literally probably about 9:30, and I just let price form in front of me. Now, when I did get on, obviously, I do my normal kind of top down, right? I took a peek at the 72-minute, right? And immediately on the 72-minute, what do we see, right? If I zoom in right over here, let me show you this high over here. You see this swing high over here, right? Okay. What happens right here on this 72-minute candle, right? This is the, granted, I am CST, by the way. This is not New York time. All the time slots that I talk about and discuss are specifically CST. I do not use New York time. I don't find any point in it. Truthfully, there is zero difference. You can do it. I don't really care. But just for reference, all the times that I'm giving are CST times, not New York times, right? So this candle closes at 8:30, or it starts and opens at 8:36, right? You can see this whole candle right here, right up here, we had a big manipulation wick right here. You can see it. Obviously, we had NFP this morning, right? Or actually, no, that was prior. That was prior. But besides the point, right? You can see this big manipulation wick, right? Usually, when we see big wicks, what does that represent? Manipulation, and we know that either quite a few people were taken out, blah blah blah, and that a likely distribution move is coming to ensue, right? So, with that in mind and established on the 72-minute, what? We drop down to the 12-minute, right? 12-minute. Picture perfect, beautiful. Now, right over here, what do we see again? I'm telling y'all, if you just pay attention to these specific references that I give you when you have your higher time frame to align yourself with at least something that will give a substantial move, because you need to be aligned. Like I was discussing yesterday, you need to be aligned with some form of high time frame structure to get these bigger R moves. Now, if you don't, you can still catch them, but the problem is you are going to get a lot of misreads and you're not going to be able to engage in the proper ones, and that is where your win rate takes a massive hit. Now, the normal saying is with a high win rate, or not a high win rate, with a high RR, you can't have a high win rate. But I'm here to say you absolutely can. It is 1000% doable. All it comes down to is reading the market correctly and putting yourself on the right side of what the price or what the market is doing now, where the manipulation was, right? Where the highs were taken, where the lows were taken, did we close back within the range, etc., right? So I'm here to say that it is 1000% possible to have a high win rate and a high RR this whole week, 100% on executions on these. Like seriously, it's like I'm telling you, it's just like it's unbelievable stuff. But honestly, I kind of went on a little tangent there. Getting back to this, right? Oh, gosh, I get myself riled up. 12-minute, what do we see, right? We see a really nice CSS, right? And now, since this black bar put in that high, what do we deem that as, right? A sequence, right? We're going to include that high with that last green bar right here. So this is going to be the whole CSS right here on this higher time frame right here. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Right here. It's probably cleaner, probably on the 5-minute, but I don't really bother looking on the 5-minute. But that is my immediate point of interest, right? And ultimately, since that high was taken, I'm wanting to wait for price to retrace up back to that area, or yeah, I'd say that area 9 times out of 10. Sometimes there'll be little nuances where I engage with it a little bit lower, but I'd say 90% of the time it's going to be in these higher time frame CSS candles, because those are lower time frame intermediate structure flips, right? Those are going to be your highest probable areas to engage with price. And in my opinion, I think engaging in other stuff is not going to give you these high RR trades. Obviously, they can be normal zones, which are beautiful for quick scalps, and I mean just overall okay quality moves, right? So with that established on the 12-minute, right, we have our point of interest, right? We've identified that a 72-minute high has been taken, and we close back within the range, right? We found our 12-minute point of interest, right? That being a 12-minute CSS candle, right? Now we are waiting for price to retrace back up to that. And what is the exact signature we look and wait for? a 1 minute sweep, a return back into the range, and then followed by a low time frame entry drill, right? It's all fractal. I'm telling you, you can see 72 minutes, same thing happened. That's the same exact thing as our entry requirement, right? On the 1 minute chart. Now, the beautiful thing about this was that same thing that happened on the 72 minute chart is going to be something of a higher time frame model that works within the exact same framework. I am so serious about that. I'm telling you right now, you don't have to use these specific time frames I'm giving you if you are not comfortable with the seconds charts, which by all means, I really truly don't think a lot of people should be on sub 10, sub 20 or 15 second charts because it's too fast for a lot of people. You have to have a very analytical and quick, responsive brain and mindset, right? Again, I'm just going on tangents here, but back to the point, right? Like I said, we've established everything and we've found what we're waiting for, right? Now we are looking for price to return back up to that area, right? This is a 1 minute chart down on this left side right here. And you can see right here what happens. We return back up to that 12 minute CSS. And look just what so beautifully happens. We get a 1 minute swing high right here, right? We come up, we manipulate above it, right? We close back within the range. Picture perfect, exactly what we look for. Absolutely textbook to a T, right? So I actually took my entry on the 5 second chart, which was not needed, but I'll cover why I took it on the 5 second chart and go over the entry, what it would have been on the 10 second chart. There was really no difference. I was just able to get a little bit more refined of an entry. And basically what I was looking at on the 5 second chart was once we closed back within that range, you can see this whole down move right here. That was after the confirmed closure back into the range. And right there, I'm waiting for price to come back up and tag me in to my point of interest, right? Now, you may say, well, don't you usually have a limit set at the CSS, right? Yes, but what I have realized is 90% of my trades are based off the 10-second CSS, right? I'm taking a entry based off that. Recognizing that when I'm on the sub-second chart and understanding I can get a more refined entry, I'm not always going to require price to reach that 5-second CSS because I know there's a higher time frame CSS within these two candle sequences right here. I know this two candle, this candle, that candle is going to be a 10-second CSS, obviously, because that's 2 bars and these are 5-second bars, right? So with that being said, what do I identify right here, right? We have this unmitigated little, there it is, right there. Okay, what do we have right here? This is exactly what my entry is based off of. We had this wick that was not mitigated to the 50% yet, right? It was the closest in relative to the CSS on the 5-second and on the 10-second that I already knew was looming there, right? My entry is based upon this 50% of this wick right here, right? That jumped out to me. I was like, okay, this looks a little ominous. I'm gonna place my limit there because I know it is below and I'm willing to eat that extra drawdown. Now, not that it's always gonna happen, right? I'm willing to eat that extra drawdown that is possibly looming if it wants to come up to this 5-second CSS, right? But with what we've already talked about, we know with high likelihood the 10-second CSS is going to have more power because it's a little bit higher of a time frame, right? About duplicate of it. So it's going to just hold a little bit more strength in my personal opinion, right? So my entry is based off of that hidden S&D, unmitigated hidden S&D on the 5-second chart. And you can see I only took, golly, 1 point of drawdown, which is ridiculous. And then I would have missed my entry by that's probably about a tick if I was going off that CSS tab. Now, let me bump up to the 10-second real quick. Go over here. Here it is. What did I tell you? Right here. That 2 candle sequence right here is going to be the 10-second CSS, right? What do we see? We highlight this, we draw it out, we get a body closure right here, confirming this CSS for us to be something we want to engage in. Now look at this, right? This entry took 3.25 points of drawdown, which is kind of ironic because, I mean, it's already such a minimal amount of drawdown because it's so precise, but being able to get those little refinements is pretty huge because it just boosts your RR, which is better for longevity in this, right? Now, we have that established 10-second CSS right there, right? Now, here's the same thing. Here's the beautiful thing about this, right? That hidden S&D I was talking about on the 5-second chart is exactly there on the 10-second chart. You can see in the exact same spot right here. Let me delete this. Actually, let me draw it over so it's still there, right? We have this unmitigated wick right here, right? And what else do we have right here? A beautiful little fractal. Don't even tell me that hit the 50% of that. Right there. Beautiful little fractal. Hidden S&D right there. Literally picture perfect. Everything in alignment here, right? And I will say, I know Dave does not talk much about time. And I mean, I get it because it's definitely something that's not really needed. Now, I'll say with these bigger moves, I do like engaging with something in a specific time slot, given a macro. 90% of my best trades are in the macros, those being 850 to 910 and 950 to 1010 CST, AM specifically. Those two, when I see a setup happen there, are very, very high likelihood for me, right? So getting into target, right? Now, let me go back up to the 1 minute, right? Right here, what I saw was we had this zone way down here, right? We had this zone right here, right? Ultimately, one of my favorite, absolute favorite targets is going to be a low resting inside of a zone. Why? Because that's usually where a double tap occurs. And more times than not, this is the first tap of this, right? This is the first tap. Sometimes if you want to get into like candlestick structure, you could say this would be the second tap, but intermediate structure, this right here, this long wick down is going to be the first tap the way I classify it, right? So what I have seen and what I've noticed is the first tap will always usually get liquidated on that second tap if price is wanting to continue in whatever its intended direction is after whatever X setup occurred, right? So knowing that and understanding that, this is a high likely target, right? The reason I actually just got stopped in profit because it was NFP Friday and I was like, I don't want to give back too much profit. I want to be like smart here. I want to be able to like get lock it in and not be too worried about it because it did chop around here directly because we had this low time frame quote unquote move origin of this little zone right here, which is exactly why we kind of chopped around here, which usually happens, and then we'll get a little flush down, which is exactly what happened. We came down, took that low, and actually did not take that low. And that is why targeting that low would not be something you would really want to engage in now because we had that flip right there, right? So in terms of setups, that's basically everything for this one. And I'm telling you, this same exact thing, if you watch these videos and watch my executions on Twitter, it's the same exact framework 90% of the time. You just need to align yourself properly and let it flow. Trust your analysis, right? And I also want to go over this too, because you can see kind of like my videos yesterday, right? Or not yesterday. I think it was a couple videos back, was understanding if price is going to run with speed or it's going to run lethargically, right? What do we see up here in this impulse move down? There is not much accumulation right here. You can see all of the volume is resting down here, right? So once we see this, we can be like, okay, this should give at least a quick run through this, right? And we can anticipate accumulation to occur within this area. Let me get it by my box right here. That is where all the volume is. And we know price is attracted to volume, right? And that's directly correlated by once we reach down here in all of this accumulation, we started to chop sideways and sideways and sideways. And then we got a final push, flushing down, taking out that low for the quote unquote second tap for this move up that we're seeing right now. And golly, that looks messy. I would not want to be trading that. But besides the point, that is literally everything. That's the exact thought process right there. Now, you don't need to, and I know Dave talks about this sometimes, is you don't need to know the ultimate move for price to make money, right? Because look at this, right? I played this move back in, but overall, what is the day? Bullish. And I was still able to capture a 10.3 R, directly correlating because I aligned myself with what the high time frame was telling me now and not just guessing entries off every 1 minute sweep. Bullish, bearish, you know what I mean? Like, you got to be able to align yourself properly. And there was actually a member in my Discord that wanted me to cover one of his setups, and I think it was down. Yeah. Here it is. Let me delete some of these drawings real quick. And I just told him I would give him my input on why I personally think it failed. And I'll delete this. So right here, you can see he framed it off of this zone. I'm almost positive. I'm referring to the picture he posted. That's what it looks like. 11, 10, 20. Yeah, it was this. And he took his entry off the 5 second. Well, I mean, honestly, entry really doesn't matter here, but the main emphasis in recognizing why this failed, right? Ultimately, we had this flip over here, right? We're expecting higher prices, and I was playing this return back into that area, understanding that this can be a high likely target, right? Now, what happened besides that is your ultimate anticipation was incorrect, right? You had the wrong read on the market, right? You kind of got in a deeper area where price was likely not going to push away from. But the key thing here is this low and this low. What does price do when it creates relative equal lows or equal lows? It trades away from them and takes out the high that put them in. Here's the initial high right here. We can automatically anticipate that to be where price is going to go because directly correlating with this, and ultimately this high put in that low. So that's going to be a target possibly right here, and understanding that's a protected low over there, right? So ultimately I'd say that setup failed, directly correlating with those equal lows, relative equal lows being put in and price trading away from them, and understanding that that high right there is going to be a high likely spot for price to go back and refer back to, because that's the high, or the at least the most recent high that put in these equal lows. But besides that, I think that is everything I wanted to cover. I hope y'all had a absolutely great week, and I love the feedback on these because it makes me really happy, because I love doing these, and I just love seeing people actually get these setups, because there are several members of my Discord, which I have a link down below. It's free. They're catching a lot of these literally just from watching some of these videos, which is so freaking awesome to see. But like I said, I hope y'all have a absolutely great weekend, and I'll keep getting some more of these posted, just going over whatever setups I post on Twitter, and we can just go from there and just have a good grand old time. So with that being said, I will catch you on the next video. I appreciate all of y'all. I love y'all. Peace.